You know, if you did this to your dog or cat, you'd be in prison for multiple felonies. And they have to endure this day after day after day, unrelenting, and it never ends. Unless someone comes and helps them.
Headlamps.
Where's the other camera? Disgusting, make sure you can hear this. Over. Okay. Okay. There's one. This is the most polluted environment on the planet, and every single one of these hens lives every moment of their waking lives in this environment. I'm from a country where in Beijing they had to shut down the streets in the city because of air pollution. Well, this is probably 100 times worse than Beijing. And in Beijing, their kids are getting emphysema and lung cancer from all the particulates in the air. Imagine how all these hens feel. This is the same as a battery cage facility, except instead of having 4 small cages, they now have 1 large cage. They still don't have an opportunity to engage in any sort of natural behavior. They're still confined in these horrible, smelly, filthy indoor sheds. These birds are naturally jungle fowl that would, in the wild in Asia, would sometimes live on acres and acres. They'd be able to fly up onto branches. They'd be able to travel freely.
When Californians voted for Prop 2, which was a ban on battery cages, is this what they thought they'd be getting in their place?
Californians thought that they were going to be giving the hens paradise, that they would be living on green pastures and grassy fields. The hens would be living the humane life that I think most of us believe the animals deserve. Hens, like all domesticated animals, are incredibly social. If you have a hen in a sanctuary, they'll naturally form friendships and alliances and relationships. They're being denied all these things that we take for granted. The love of your mother, an opportunity to have a friend. There's an entire universe of social behavior and emotional life that's missing from their lives. These hens are bred to lay so many eggs, and they receive so little nutrition that oftentimes, if the hen does not have the calcium and nutritional sufficiency to make a shell around the egg, the yolk will just get stuck and it builds up in the bellies. She's trying to get this out of her belly and she can't. And this will cause her death. And this girl over here has the same condition, and she's near death. The eggs that people eat are coming out of that same vent that's filled with pus and feces, sometimes blood. These eggs are sold at some of the largest grocers in the country, including Costco, Safeway, Lucky.
When people pack an egg to make scrambled eggs, they're lucky if it comes from a place like this, because this is the best of the best.
This is. It's been lauded by the New York Times as the flagship farm for the state of California after Prop 2. Turns out the flagship farm is filled with filth and feces and hens with tumors in their head the size of golf balls. They're marking this as humane and sometimes even cage-free. You see the growth on her head? That right there is either a cancerous lesion, it could be an infection, and it could be like just an abscess, a cut on their face that gets infected. If you're a healthy bird or human being, you get a little cut and it heals. But when you're in a filthy, miserable, stressful environment and there's no one to take care of you, that cut will just get inflamed, and soon it grows so big that it's as big as your head. If someone just kind of removed the abscess, took a little knife to it, and then cleaned up the wound afterwards, she could probably be saved and spared an incredible amount of suffering. So this open mouth breathing, that means she has some sort of upper respiratory issue. She's struggling to breathe. Hens in the wild, they're constantly scratching and pecking and digging so their nails get worn down. But a hen in a cage, you know, those nails curve over, and sometimes they actually curve over back into the foot, which prevents the hen from even walking. When they're sick like this, they try and find some place where they're separated from the other hens because they don't want to be trampled on, and that's what she's doing. There's literally a hen perching on top of another hen right now. And she doesn't have the strength to get someone off her own back. This hen is defeated. She has no strength, no will to live in her anymore. She's just bent over and is waiting for death's embrace. She's given up. We try to help out the hens that we can, and you know, there's so many of them in here, so you can't help them all. We see a hen in extreme distress who's in an immediate and dire emergency, we often try to help them because we feel like we have a moral obligation. And frankly, these are torture victims. And if you found a torture victim on the street, I think we'd all say you have a moral obligation to try and assist to the extent that you can. And we feel the same way about these hens. We have another one who's outside, and I don't think she's doing so well.
To the side?
Turn her to the side. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good girl. She doesn't know that she hit the lottery yet.
She's drinking. She's drinking.
How many hens are in this shed?
150,000. On this barn, there are 5 sheds of this type, and then 4 smaller sheds that are used for poults, which are younger hens.
What will happen to all these hens when they can no longer lay eggs?
The most common method of killing is just gassing them all. A lot of people think, oh, gassing, that's like being put to sleep. The most common gas that's used in California is carbon dioxide, and oftentimes carbon dioxide actually causes respiratory asphyxiation.
How long will these hens live in these cages?
So they have to live here from 1.5 to 2 years. From day one, a struggle to survive. That's all they know.